do the steps, because I need to know when my son or my daughter gets their ox stuck in a ditch and needs Alcoholics Anonymous. I need to know that they're in there with people who have worked the steps. I need to know there's people that have done the work. I was sitting in my home group and I watched a lady, a friend of mine, she's sober. She has a sponsor. She's worked the steps. And y'all know as well as I do, you can look at somebody and tell whether or not they've worked the steps. There's just a presence they have about them. And there was a young girl in there. Her eyes were swollen and she had been crying. And the lady got up and she walked over to her and she bent down. She got eye level and she stuck her hands between her knees and she shrunk her shoulders to get like as small as possible, and be as little intimidating as she could. And the lady said, "Would it be okay if I sat next to you?" And it just moved me because I thought, I need to know that that's going to be there for my daughter.
That's right.
I heard it through the grapevine.
Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine half-hour variety hour featuring the collected voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm Sam, an alcoholic in Palm Springs, California.
And I am Olis, an alcoholic in Oakland, California.
Yes.
Hey, it's so good to see you in the new year, my friend.
You too. It's been way too long. We almost took December off recording because we got caught up.
I know. And it's no doubt because of my brilliance. It really is because of me. Sure.
You coming to this podcast has done nothing but improve it by leaps and bounds. We were fumbling in the dark here.
You know what? I can't with you. Okay, so let me say this.
Oh.
I got some great socks in the mail. Some lovely purple socks with grapes all over them. And as soon as I opened that package, I thought, this is Sam. Thank you, Sam.
When I was searching for something, Don got a pair too. When I found those, I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. I got to send these.
The grape nuts. We are the grape nuts.
We are indeed the grape nuts. Oh, Olis, what's on your mind? What's been going on?
I'm settling into Oakland again. I was gone for years. I feel like my name is on the bathroom wall in AA because I have been invited to every meeting within driving distance to participate. And one of the things I've learned along the way, and I didn't know this, and bridging the gap.
I have never participated in it, but I am aware of it. Yes.
Rudimentary understanding is that Alcoholics Anonymous now has a new service arm, like hospitals and institutions that take meetings into people. Bridging the Gap supports people that are being released from institutions and connecting to Alcoholics Anonymous in a meaningful and deep way. I just love this idea of helping people come home from prison, helping people who are getting released from treatment facilities find a home in Alcoholics Anonymous.
Setting people up for success.
Yeah.
Especially in prison, which is, I was not aware about the treatment facilities part of Bridging the Gap. So that's new information to me. So thank you.
That's what I think.
Well, if we're not doing that, maybe we should. But someone who's been sober in prison, who has been participating in AA as best they can, and then being released from prison, who's there to catch them?
It's a beautiful demonstration of what we mean when we do the responsibility pledge.
And what is that?
When anyone anywhere reaches out for help, I'm the hand of AA. Like, I'm responsible for being there. And it is this spirit of service, which is what is the solution to my problem. My problem is that I'm always thinking about me, selfish, self-centered, self-seeking. And the responsibility pledge, in many ways, is the solution, which is be useful, be helpful, be there.
I love that some of the service events that I've attended close with that instead of a prayer.
So my friend Chase, who invited me to a Bridging the Gap event about linking hospital and institution work to Bridging the Gap work. And I was like, of course we need to do that.
Well, so many of our groups will take meetings to hospitals and institutions.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that the people who are leaving those places are connected.
That's right.
It just makes plain sense to me that it's really important that upon leaving, as soon as possible, to get into the recovery community there.
Yeah. I went to women's treatment facility last night. I was the speaker last night, a regular H&I meeting. And anybody in the sound of our voice that has not done service with hospitals and institutions, go ahead and do it. Find the H&I rep in your area. Go speak at a treatment facility. It's just lovely. When they graduate, right, quote unquote, from their facility, who in AA will be there for them? I love the term bridging the gap.
It's a fantastic term. It's a fantastic program. And I'm so glad you wanted to talk about that.
Thank you.
Let's hope that that fosters more conversation amongst listeners with
Yeah.
the people that they know.
Yes. Okay. So you know what I want to know from you, Sam? I have an ever important question for you.
The answer to life, the universe, and everything, it's 42. The nerds listening will get that.
Who is our guest today?
Oh, I know that one too. Alice, today we welcome Wilson from Byhalia, Mississippi. But first, the news. You come up with a new tone every time. I love it.
Grapevine's YPAW, that means Young People in AA. World Tour features audio stories from YPAW members at events around the world. The playlist kicks off with stories by members at the 64th IKIPA, which is the International Conference of Young People in AA. It was in Austin this year, folks. Stories from more YPA events will follow. Look for AA Grapevine on YouTube and go to the created playlist.
All right, I'm here with Patrick C., the International Convention Coordinator, with an update on the upcoming July 2025 International Convention in Vancouver, British Columbia. Hi, Patrick.
Good morning, Don. It's great to see you. And I'm so happy to be here. Wanted to share a few things about what's going on with planning.
Well, I'm excited because it's like at this stage, I picture it like you're making this gigantic layer cake and you're gathering all the ingredients and stirring them about. I mean, is it starting to come together? Are you ready to put it in the oven yet?
It's getting close. I've got the preheat on for sure. I don't know if somebody told you how much I love cake, so that was a great metaphor there. All the ingredients coming together, but it very much feels that way. We had an email that came across my desk this morning that the gossip going around is that the International Convention in Vancouver is sold out. We want to dispel that myth right away.
It's not sold out.
It's not sold out, no. People are still able to register and plan for attendance at the 2025 International Convention in Vancouver, British Columbia. So please continue to register and get ready to come.
And if people need accommodations, what do they do?
Accommodations are still available for sure. We're adding hotel rooms into our official room block regularly.
AA.org and look for the International Convention.
That's where you can click the register here button and begin that process of registration and housing.
Good. Come on.
We want to encourage all members to dispel the myths with me. I need all of your help so we can get solid factual information out about our upcoming exciting 90th anniversary event.
All right.
And I've also wanted to share a little bit about what each attendee can expect to do.
Yeah, is it going to be more than 2 speaker meetings?
Just a few. We have over 250 different meetings that people will be able to pick from to attend on Friday during the day and Saturday during the day. I mean, that's a lot of meetings.
Wow.
Plus marathon meetings are going to be going on overnight that groups in the local area will sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
We also are going to have over 20 plus hospitality suites that you can visit from around the US and Canada and even internationally.
Help me visualize. Is there a plaza and all the events are in different buildings around the plaza, or is this spread across the city?
It's actually going to be on our International Convention campus, which is made up of our 2 main venues, the Vancouver Convention Center and the BC Place Stadium. And then we'll also have some events housed in some of the hotels around those venues.
I see.
Full maps and how to find things in our mobile app. And there'll be a ton of volunteers on the streets helping folks get from place to place.
But all rather centrally located?
Yeah.
Walking?
walking distance, put on your walking shoes because
Mm-hmm.
we are trying to maneuver around a large group of people. So we want them spread out.
Gotcha.
And then finally, for those who've never experienced an international convention, and it's been 10 years since our last convention, we've lost a lot of knowledge about what to expect, which is why I'm sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they think it's like their local roundup or their
Mm-hmm.
state convention. And no, it's not like that. This is a much larger event. And with all of those different sessions, you get a chance to hear from non-alcoholic professionals on different topics, international attendees. There's our wonderful archives display from GSO and many, many other things. So just wanted to get some excitement out there for folks to think about, oh, there's much more to this than I thought there was.
It's like a smaller roundup or a smaller convention, but like put them all together. A lot's going to be going on.
It's like a convention on steroids.
All right.
Built up, bulked up.
Let's get bulked up. Patrick, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
The message of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Well, this is where it all happens.
What you have to look forward to is a huge party.
Because it works. It just works.
In case a fellow suffering alcoholic needs it, we have it.
Our Primary Purpose is a podcast about Alcoholics Anonymous and is produced by the AA General Service Office in the U.S. and Canada. We'll be exploring how the General Service Office, or GSO, supports the AA members and groups who carry the AA message to those who need it most, which is our primary purpose. We'll share some rare audio straight from the GSO archives.
It's a wonderful organization, fellows, and I'm proud to have this opportunity to tell you how it works.
That people from all walks of life can find a home in Alcoholics Anonymous.
And when you get into the guts of the office over there, you'll begin to see how important that has been.
Share what it's like to work here.
I always say this desk has spiritually rearranged me.
It was deeply meaningful.
It's not just a department, it's an attitude.
And hear from some of our visitors from around the world.
Actually, being here makes me feel even more connected.
We just have more appreciation for the program.
This is what enables us to have the literature where I saw my solution.
And I understood it, but I didn't see it, and now I can see it.
We'll take you on a virtual tour and bring you exclusive access to the GSO archives.
So what do we got in the back?
So this is an area that we don't normally take visitors into, but for you...
You do not want to miss this. Subscribe now to Our Primary Purpose, the official podcast of the General Service Office of Alcoholics Anonymous, everywhere podcasts can be found, so you can hear our weekly episodes when they begin streaming on January 14th.
My name's Wilson. I'm an alcoholic. I live in Byhalia, Mississippi, which is North Mississippi and is about 10 to 20 minutes outside of Memphis, Tennessee. My home group is in Olive Branch, Mississippi, and it's Friends of Bill W. And we meet once a week at 6:30 at the Olive Branch Public Library.
Wilson, my country is going to show up today. I'm from North Carolina, and as soon as I get around another Southerner, it gets turned on.
People tell me I have an accent, but I think I talk normal and everybody else talks funny.
Right. Isn't that the truth? I'm a New Yorker, and I'm like, why do those people talk so funny? Wilson, we would love you to talk about why you came to Alcoholics Anonymous. People don't come on a good day, so tell us about that.
I certainly didn't come on a good day. The long short of my story is there's only one real unique thing about me. My story is just like everybody else's, but in 2002, I was in Las Vegas because my cousin had made it to the World Championship of the rodeo in steer wrestling. And we were there to celebrate that. I was with family. I wasn't there partying or causing any real problems, or I didn't intend to anyway. But I was playing the quarter slot machine and won hit for $2.3 million.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so that was, that's the solution, right? Like all my problems are now going to go away because all we need is money, and then we'll be happy and life will be good. And that was the case for about 72 hours or so. And then, I got to doing what we do, which was I wish I had more money, or what am I going to do with this money? And life got significantly more difficult than it did get easier. And I was already starting a business the next month in January. I had the loan lined up and everything. And that downtime in between that month, I was looking for things to do. I was working for $10 an hour and drinking. Somehow the 5 o'clock drink turned into the noon drink that turned into the 5 a.m. drink. And the last 8 years of my drinking, I probably didn't have 10 days where I didn't have a drink in my hand before 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Wow. That's some hard living.
And what a powerful story about I want money is not the solution.
It can really let the problem show up.
And I was conscious of the fact that this is not going to be a problem. Like, I'm not going to be one of those people on those documentary shows that wins all that money and blows it all to hell. All the while, I'm becoming one of those people on those documentary shows that wins all that money and blew it all to hell. And that's exactly what happened.
Were you in denial that it was happening?
Yes, it was just like anything else. I'm just going to buy this one more thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to put in a pool, and that'll be my celebration. Well, I'm going to take my friends to Mexico, and that'll be it, and that'll be good. And then, but I do want a 4-wheeler, so I'm going to do that, and then I'll be done.
Right.
And on top of a heavy and expensive habit, we're expensive people. To live the way that we like to live as alcoholics is not cheap.
A thought just popped to mind, trying to fill that God-sized hole.
Exactly.
How did you find AA?
Everything was falling apart, and I couldn't make it, 30 minutes without a drink. And my wife at the time was out of the house. She had taken the kids, which was fine with me because I just wanted to do what I want to do, which is what I want to do all the time. My daughter celebrated her 3rd birthday, and I didn't even call. She wasn't old enough to talk, but she could coo and do all that stuff. And my nephew was born, on her birthday. I didn't go to the hospital. Eventually I just, I went to bed with the gun in my mouth and woke up the next morning pretty much unaware of what was going on. And I just drove myself to a treatment center. I didn't know anything about treatment. I thought that only bums and Hollywood stars went to rehab.
Mm.
I went to rehab. They taught me about AA. I didn't want to hear anything about it. I left rehab because I had learned everything they could possibly teach me.
Mm.
I made it all the way from the back door of the treatment center to the front door of my truck, which was sitting outside with a half-drank 24-ounce Budweiser that had been sitting out there for 6 days in July temperature. And I washed that thing down, and 48 hours later, I was back in treatment. And some people came in from, hospitals and institutions representing AA. And for whatever reason, the 10th set of people that came in there, I heard what they had to say. And it all kind of sparked a willingness, I guess, a willingness to do what they told me to do.
So did you go to a meeting shortly after that?
I did. They gave me my post-rehab plan. I can't remember if it was 3 months or 6 months of called outpatient.
Yeah.
And I had no idea it was this serious. I didn't know that you could die from withdrawal. I didn't know, that when they said 3 months, I thought, you have lost your mind.
Yeah.
If you think that the world is going to continue to spin without me in it for 90 days, and I'm going to go sit in, this room and listen to people talk to me about God knows what, you're crazy. But for whatever reason, I was just so out of gas and so depressed that I couldn't do much of anything else. And I did that, and they encouraged us to go to meetings. I went to my first meeting, I guess my first day in outpatient. I started going to a meeting every day, and I quickly found myself hanging out at a recovery club that had about 7 meetings a day.
Yeah.
And I would stay there all day long.
Yeah.
I would just sit in there and cry and, rage. I didn't go anywhere without an alcoholic. I couldn't, I was too afraid to even go in the store and interact with somebody to buy my own cigarettes.
Yeah.
I was terrified to use a debit card to pump my own fuel. I was in a bad way, and I had the people with me all the time.
And Alcoholics Anonymous, that's what we do. We don't talk about it. we actually show up. So what a beautiful story of going to a clubhouse where 7 meetings a day, people hanging out. Let's go do chores. Hey, this is
All those
AA.
things.
Yeah.
Listen, I went to, and I'll likely get emotional talking about it. I'm an emotional guy, and I'm a crier.
Yay!
So I was at a meeting, and I shared that it was my daughter's birthday. This was the next year, and I was still in terrible shape, still highly depressed, and I was terrified about how do I throw a birthday party. I have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
I'm divorced. I'm by myself. I'm just so alone. And 5 guys from that meeting left with me.
Yep.
And we went to Party City, and we just bought a bunch of crap and came back to my house, and we had helium tanks. We blew up balloons.
Yep.
And some of these guys are rough jokers. Like, they're not guys that you can imagine, taping Cinderella statues to the wall. And we decorated the house, and we argued about who was blowing up the balloons too big and too small. And, they're putting tape on the walls and ripping off, that's going to rip off the paint later. It was just such a beautiful and fun thing. We laughed and laughed and laughed. And, I just felt that was just unbelievable that people would take their time to do something like that for me.
And they got something out of it too. This is the thing. When we show up for each other, we get something too.
And we get to create some really good memories that wind up being really good stories that inevitably help someone else.
Well, and I think that as alcoholics, we have a lot of traits that inherently make life more fun if we can get to the place of using those traits. So there's so many things about being an alcoholic that I enjoy, that if somebody said, we're going to take away your alcoholism, but we're also going to take away all those isms that come with it that make life so much fun, I would say, don't touch it. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind putting in an hour or two a day in recovery for the life that I get to live.
Absolutely. And, I love that my sponsor put this to me one time, that, my character defects are simply characteristics. They're out of balance. They need to be brought back into balance, but they are characteristics about me that work.
I heard somebody say alcoholism is unrealistic, irrational reactions to everyday situations.
Oh my gosh, the broken shoelace, right?
Yeah, right.
I need a drink.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it.
You worked the steps, I assume, with a sponsor. Is that true?
I have. I probably had 6 sponsors in my first year of sobriety. And that was because I would get somebody to be my sponsor, and then they would be so rude as to ask me to do some work. And so naturally, I do what we do, which is get another sponsor. As I'm not getting a sponsor, there was a group of like 4 or 5 guys that came to the same meeting. And the difference between them and me is that I was there to go to a meeting, and they were there to get sober. Like, they were there to recover.
That's a wonderful distinction.
And the difference between me and them is they had a sponsor, and they had a notebook, and they had pens and paper, and they were getting better, and I wasn't. Eventually I was like, I need to get to work on this. And then a friend of mine that I had known, most of my life, he had done the 4th step, and he was a different guy. Like, he had elevated his game so much that he went from just a guy that I thugged around with to a guy that I admired. Once I got started on the 4th step, I started and I became addicted to it, just like anything else. I couldn't wait to get home and do more writing and do more writing and do more writing, because I started to realize every situation isn't so difficult. It just all boils down to me being highly insecure and fearful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when things come up, there's not a whole lot of variables. It's just my insecurity and my fear. Yeah. And before, life just moved too fast that I couldn't process it all. So it was always hard. Every confrontation, every conflict I had was hard. And now, doing the 4th step, I was able to see that usually I could just pause and know that let me get home and find out what I'm fearful about and what I'm insecure about. And that's all I really have to worry about.
That pause works magic, doesn't it?
I heard a lady say, she said that her checklist is, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? And does it need to be said by me now?
It's a fantastic checklist. Yes, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
You said something earlier about these guys who were bringing paper and pens to the meeting. They were getting sober, and you said they let you in. I heard stick with the winners.
And the person that let me in particular, we hated each other, and it was known that we hated each other. And we sat across each other during meetings, and the only question was were we going to go over the table, through the table, or around the table to get our hands around each other's throats?
Wow.
And it was a strong hatred I had for the guy. I really can't remember why. I'm sure it was very not important, like most of my hate tends to be.
Yeah.
And what happened was, he had a sponsor, and the sponsor said, that sounds like a great opportunity to get to know a little bit more about why you hate him.
Wow.
And he said, we're all cooking out. Come over. Don't bring any meat. Don't worry about anything. Just show up and we'll eat. And that's what we did. And I had a great time, and I saw that these guys were just a lot of fun, and I kind of wanted to click in. I wanted to be in their group.
Yeah.
Man, that is a whole lot of principles before personalities going on right there.
And good sponsorship.
And the beauty of getting to see this guy that stayed sober with me. I've been sober a little over 13 years. He's still sober, and we get to see each other and hug each other and just laugh about the hatred we had for each other at one point in time.
Yeah. How are you sponsoring people? How are you a sponsor to the guy that says, be my sponsor, but doesn't want you to give them any work?
I'm aggressive when it comes to, I'm very protective of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the older that my children have gotten, the more important it is to me, and the more of a duty I feel to get to work or get out. Get out and get what you need to get back in and get to the place where you're willing to do the steps.
I love that Southern thing you said. When your ox is stuck in a ditch, are you in a network of people that can help you get your ox out? I don't need well wishes. I don't need the happy talk.
Right. I think I do, but I mean, you give me a shoulder to cry on, I'm never getting off it.
Never.
And if I don't have to do the work, I'm not doing it. You will not find anybody lazier than me.
I mean, I'm the same way. One of the things that I absolutely love hearing was it's hard to stay sober on fellowship and coffee.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Fellowship and coffee got me sober. I will absolutely say that for me. I showed up to meetings. I stopped drinking. I started going to meetings and hanging out in fellowship. And the desire to drink was removed. It was gone. But in order for it to stay gone, I needed to work the steps. And I did.
And I think there's a time and a place for that. I needed what I got. I needed time to not do anything, to feel sorry for myself. I needed time for other people to feel sorry for me. I needed time for, to be loved and cared for, to get to a place. And then it's like, okay, you've taken all that you need to take. It's only going to be about me for so long. And then the objective is to get people out there that have worked the steps, to get people out there that have worked the steps, to get people out there that have worked the steps, sponsoring, and get that net as wide as possible, as quickly as possible. It's not about, me sponsoring you. It's about me sponsoring you and getting you through the steps so you can sponsor people.
We're training sponsors.
That's right. I travel a lot. And when I go to a group or I don't know anybody, if nobody comes up and says hello, it's not a group I want to really hang with, because the groups that are good are looking for a new person to talk to, are welcoming a new person in.
And it's something that needs to be taught. I mean, you have to see it to know how to do it. I thought I was really welcoming to the newcomer. I'll talk to them and be as nice as I can. But, if there was a football game the week before and I see an old buddy that I'm comfortable with, I would venture over there because it's easier, and because I'm more comfortable doing that. And then I got around people that were sober, and I watched how they did things. We talked about Shonda, who recommended me to be on the podcast with you guys. I've been to meetings with her in different states where we don't know anyone. And she is scanning that room, and that's the only thing she's looking for. And we're not leaving until she gets her words in with the newcomer. She's looking for who's still sick and suffering. And it's like, that's why we're here. And so I learned to carry myself differently, what I'm looking for when I hear people share in a meeting.
Yeah.
I knew that intellectually, but I had to be shown that to know what that really looks like.
We're leading by example.
Absent the example, I'm going to do what works for me.
Right.
I'm going to come to the meeting. I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to talk to my friends. I'm going to drink the bad coffee. I'm going to eat the cheap cookies. And I'm going to leave because I'm selfish. I'm self-centered. I'm self-seeking. I'm self. I've got to be shown that serving someone is actually the real purpose. And out of it, I get more than I would have gotten if I just came to the meeting and took what I needed.
Sure.
My depth, I'm expanded. You know, Wilson, the most important thing of the entire time with you, I need to say, is when I come to Memphis, can I come hang out with you? I want to go to some meetings.
Oh, absolutely. I would love nothing more.
Wilson, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, it's been a real joy chatting with you.
Thank you, guys. This has been a joy and an honor. It's really something to be part of it. So thank y'all for the invitation.
Hey, Don, what are you playing with on your phone? We're supposed to be recording a podcast here.
Oh, sorry, Sam. Look, I was just checking my spiritual fitness in the new Grapevine app.
Oh, the daily spiritual maintenance checklist? Well, are you fit?
Yep, says so here. And look, there's a daily quote and a sobriety calculator.
And you can read the latest issue and all of the past issues all the way back to 1944.
And you can have the app read the magazine to you out loud as a playlist. It's the monthly magazine in print and audio.
Right in your pocket. The Grapevine and Lavinia apps are now available for both iOS and Android phones. To get yours, go to the App Store on your phone.
A story of true love with Willa and Barnaby. She was a widow and he was a widower. They were both blackout drunks since their teenage years. They had a brief relationship in high school, but then went their separate ways. Now, at their 60th high school reunion, here they were face to face again. They picked up right where they left off, with the heavy drinking, flirty comments, coy smiles, and dancing.
Oh, Willa.
Oh, Barnaby.
At the end of the evening, Barnaby, now well fortified, had the liquid courage to ask her,
Willa, will you marry me?
She immediately responded,
Yes, I will.
Barnaby was delighted. The next morning, nursing a hangover and remembering only blurred pieces of the evening, he couldn't remember if she'd said yes or no to his proposal. So with some trepidation, he picked up the phone and called her.
Well, sometimes I don't remember things very well, but so, when I asked you to marry me last night, did you say yes or did you say no?
Why, you silly man. I said yes, and I meant it with all my heart. Oh, thank goodness. I'm so glad you called, because I couldn't remember who asked me.
It's really not that funny.
Thanks for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half-Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine, Inc. We don't speak for AA as a whole. We share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org, including our app and how to get in touch with us. Find us on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to know more about AA, visit aa.org or search online for Alcoholics Anonymous and your city.